a little bit away from each other. Like, don't rub shoulders in order to like walk on the sidewalk. Walk on the road if you have to. Do something like that. And in circumstances of outdoor eating, which is allowed in many states now, there's no need to wear a mask. Just if you do encounter being close to someone at a table, in the sense that they have the tables close to each other and someone's like next to you and it's not 6 feet, more like 3 feet or 2 feet or even 4 feet or even 5 feet, then I'd probably recommend wearing a mask during the intermission when you're not eating or drinking, just for your own personal safety. But besides that, I mean, gloves really not necessary, because just wash your hands. It's better for the earth. It's also better for you, because gloves, they protect you somewhat, and they're not really the best to wear in all circumstances, in my opinion, because in the circumstances you take your gloves off and, for example, when you're outdoor eating, you take your gloves off, you're getting bacteria on it. And when you put the glove back on, it just keeps the bacteria there and then will go into your glove, which is the opposite of what you want gloves to do, which is to not have bacteria go onto your hands. So definitely follow those steps if you're going to be doing any sort of indoor or outdoor thing. But really just stay safe and just wash your hands. And if they ask to wear a mask, wear a mask. I mean, that's really all I could recommend, which I think what Dr. Fauci would probably recommend as well.
Yeah, those are some very good recommendations there. Thank you for that. Definitely sounds like the doctor's orders, I guess, are sanitizer, wash those hands, and wear that mask. All right. Now, we will be talking about we're going to change gears now, talking about the election. So we're going to cue that music. Ladies and gentlemen, here's what we got today. We're taking a look at the Senate. James is going to give us an idea of how it's looking. Can we also hold the House as the Democratic Party looks to further gain control of government after a good midterm? Also, some of the major primaries coming up. A lot of good stuff to talk about. Jamal Bowman on June 23rd in New York could be unseating another very, very powerful Democrat, Elliot Engel. We'll be talking about that primary, as well as what's going on in New York 17, where we have Mondaire Jones, another progressive running an open seat, and all the other things on June 23rd. Also, just talking about elections, give you an idea of what to talk about. Oh, yeah, AOC. I forgot. AOC is the third one we're talking about. She's also facing a primary as well. So a lot of fun stuff to talk about here in our election segment of the show, and we do have just the man for the job. He is, of course, a great contributor to the show, but he is I think James, probably most knowledgeable about everything elections. So, yeah, James, I think we can start at the top with the presidency. Of course, Joe Biden, Donald Trump. I personally, looking at this race, I thought it was 50-50 coming to the pandemic, and just based on how people responded, how people reacted to this. And I think the way he's handled the pandemic, the way people have responded to this, at top of the killing of George Floyd, makes this, and just based on the polls that we've seen, makes this, I think, a pretty, I'm feeling more and more comfortable about a Joe Biden victory in November. Should I?
Yeah, because as I'm looking right now, oh yeah, you definitely. I still stay caution on it, just in case, because I don't know how long the pandemic will last for, and I don't know, because in the circumstance that the economy comes back, many people may say, oh, I'll just forget about it because the economy is good, which I don't know if that will happen. Definitely, if you want to keep your hopes up, really not bad to do, but I wouldn't, let's not make, not for you, because you didn't make this mistake, but for other people who made the mistake, don't make the mistake, be like, oh, Hillary got it, she's going to win because Trump is bad. That may not happen, but as I look at the consensus right now on 270 to win, it actually is looking better today, because they actually put Michigan now as a lean to Joe Biden. And they, for my map, looks as if, for me, I made my own map here, and in the circumstance that Joe Biden is able to do very well, we will see most likely Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania go for him. North Carolina and Florida, which are the two toss-up states, most likely go. I think they're going to go for Trump. I mean, people say North Carolina may go for Biden and Florida may go for Biden, but I'm going to be truthfully honest. I don't doubt it. I just find it very hard to believe that could happen. Maybe it will. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Those folks in Florida, again, like they did in 2008 with Obama, maybe they'll prove me wrong and put Biden up and put him in. Who knows? But for now, I'm going to try to just not make it super good for Biden, make it so that it's more of like a 50-50, as we said earlier. And the reason why I put Arizona as blue for now for Biden, even if it was red, Biden still would win. But the reason why I put Arizona as blue is because we see a very insurgent. This is not a progressive Senate candidate, Mark Kelly. He is going to really kick Martha McSally's butt to the curb in that Senate race, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I think if he can bring enough people out, which he's really been, that guy has really been a tirade in regards to fundraising, which I think he'll be able to bring a lot of people out to vote for him.
He's a former astronaut. He's got the that kind of exposure too, and people think he's cool.
And his wife is Gabby Giffords. Yeah,
and
his wife is Gabby Giffords, which has that going for him as well. Because
you're saying Biden is leaning towards winning the presidency. Would you say it right now?
Yeah, I would definitely say that right now.
All right, yeah, let's talk about Senate. So Biden wants to get anything done, and that's, I think, an open question if he actually does want to get anything done. But he will, of course, need a Senate. So how is that Senate looking? I mean, we've seen a lot in the wake of the pandemic, it's not just been Trump, but a lot of Republican seats have gotten more and more in play.
Yeah. Right now, I have Maine as a toss-up still. I know many people are saying, I think she's going to lose. I really think it's going to come down to who comes out and votes, and I don't know if Gideon will be able to hold the amount of insurgent Republicans and even some independents who voted for Susan Collins. If independents go out in major numbers for Gideon, I haven't really looked too much at Maine's polls yet because the polls haven't really been so good in Maine. Not in the sense of, the Democrats winning or the Republicans winning. They haven't been good in the sense of really reliability, in the sense of time length and really when they've actually done the polls. North Carolina, I actually put as a tilt Democrat, which may shock many, but Cal Cunningham is a state senator right now who is going against the incumbent Tom Tillis. Tom Tillis is not Richard Burr, but thank God Richard Burr will be retiring in 2 years from now. He already mentioned that he was going to be doing that from his last election for the Senate, so that will be a good toss-up as well once Richard Burr is not running for that seat in 2 years. But this year, coming into this November,
you think Richard Burr can handle? Because Richard Burr up this year?
No, Richard Burr would have been up in 2 years, but he already announced 5 years ago that he was only going to be doing 2 terms in the Senate.
Oh, okay.
And so, as of right now, even if Maine went to the Republicans would have a 1-seat majority in the Senate. In the circumstances that Gideon's able to get enough independents over, then the Senate would be 50-50. But if Biden is able to win, they will have 50-50 with the vice president being the virtual tiebreaker if they vote based off party line each and every time. But I think the other race to look at is Michigan. Michigan, it's a consensus here on lean, but the reason why I say we should look at Michigan is because John James, Michigan is probably not going to go for the Republican, but he's pretty actively campaigning. I don't support him
John
whatsoever,
James, the Republican candidate?
Yeah, he ran 2 years ago against Stabenow. He lost horribly against her, but Gary Peters is, I'd say, more of the not necessarily weaker, but he's not really a bad guy. People don't really know him that well because he's not a senior senator, a senior official in the Senate for the Democrats like Stabenow is, and he hasn't even been in office for that many years as a senator from that state. So I think this is actually going to be his second time running or third time running, which I know sounds like a lot already, but he's been kind of under the he's been on the DL, to say the least, because he's gotten things done, but he's not like a controversial senator, which is what many people which is the reason why many people know they're senators, is for being very controversial or having just a lot of news coverage, like Bernie Sanders, for example. Not necessarily a controversial figure, but people just call him, he's a socialist or this and that.
Yeah. So, that North Carolina Senate race is very, very interesting. Alabama right now, where do we see that happening?
It depends on if Tuberville wins the primary, that's going to definitely be for the Republicans. I'd say lean Republican. If Sessions win, it's going to be tilt Republican. I'd still say I think that if Sessions win, which he actually has a good shot at doing.
And he's primarying Doug Jones, right? Sorry, he's going.
Doug Jones already.
General election
going against
Doug Jones.
Yeah. Doug Jones, yeah. Doug Jones actually has a pretty good withstanding still with independents and Democrats, obviously Democrats in the state of Alabama. It depends on how much the independents will go over to the Republican or Democrat, which is what we saw in the special election that they had. 56% of independents went over to Doug Jones, which was really what propelled him to win, because if he didn't get above 52%, he would have lost that election. So it really will have to depend on if he will be able to get Sessions, not Sessions, if Sessions or Doug Jones will be able to actually appeal to the independents again. And I think that Doug Jones will be able to appeal to them, but I think that if Tuberville is able to get the primary win, I think that there will be enough independents who will go over to him because he's someone new, and he's a Republican, and Alabama is a Republican state. But if Sessions is up again, I think that will be an interesting race to watch if Sessions gets put in place again, because a lot of people down there did not like Sessions as with his job as to what he did as Attorney General.
And Trump has endorsed
him.
Tommy Tuberville, who's the former Auburn coach, in a pretty big way.
So if Sessions wins again, this may be like a Roy Moore all over again, because remember Trump endorsed Luther Strange,
but I think
against Roy Moore.
Yeah, I think in the beginning we had, at least in the primary, I think Tommy Tuberville won pretty quickly, but I think they have to do a runoff. In the way
they have to do a runoff.
Yeah. So,
but
he's
Doug making
Jones,
pretty good point sessions as to how he could win. He's doing pretty, I'd say, pretty good.
You think he does have a shot in?
I think he has a shot at winning the primary. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So let's now go into talking about more Senate races here. We can talk about Martha McSally. You already talked about that one. That's the one where she is being, of course, going against.
Yeah, she's going to lose that one.
Yeah, she's going against the astronaut. Yeah. So talked about him. Another big possible flip for the Democrats is Cory Gardner in Colorado. That one, what do you think about that one? It's, of course, a
that's going to happen, I think.
Between Romanoff and Hickenlooper.
Yeah. Well, if Hickenlooper wins the primary, that's going to be a sweep. I mean, Gardner's going to be swept off the stage. If Romanoff wins the primary, that's going to be a real fight, because I think he's going to have to try to get over the independents and the more of the moderate Coloradan Democrat voters who are already going to be voting for Hickenlooper over to him. But I really even consider Romanoff the candidate for the party, because I don't think he's actually going to win the primary against Hickenlooper anyway. I think Hickenlooper is going to pretty much kill him as well in the primary, because he's such a popular figure in Colorado. I mean, I don't agree with him on. I don't agree with really either of those fellas on many things, but I can't deny the fact that Hickenlooper has an advantage for being the governor of Colorado and having a pretty high name recognition, which even though it's not popular name recognition, people like that in this time. People think, oh, he's popular, so he'll win against Cory Gardner, which I think is part of the reason why they're going to go for him, because I guarantee there are probably some people who would have voted for Romanoff, or even they had a state senator who I liked a little bit better. He was a moderate as well, but the problem I didn't really like with Hickenlooper is I felt like as if he was just using this race to get propelled. Like Hickenlooper's policies, the majority of them I support. I just don't really like the guy, because he ran for president, then he jumps into the Senate race out of nowhere because he wants to go to the Senate. I don't think that's really fair.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it wasn't really the best way of handling it.
No, but the guy in Montana did that as well. But Bullock is good.
Yeah,
I like
what's
Bullock.
His name?
I think Bullock's the best guy to go against Daines, because Bullock literally won in 2016 while Trump carried that state. So Bullock is like the best guy to have in Montana against Daines.
That's an R plus. That's an R plus 11. That is in most races only lean R.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something. That's definitely something.
For governor, yeah. But they've had a good history of Democrats winning that state. Actually, Daines, the senator before Daines, because this is his first term, Daines is running for a second term this year. The senator before that was a Democrat, and the other incumbent senator is a Democrat, John Tester, who went up 2 years ago in 2018. He tightly won his race. I think it was like 3% against Matt Rosendale, who ran for governor. He lost that. Greg Giaforte and Mike Coons are now in the governor race for Montana. That's going to be an interesting one to watch as well for governor race, because that's lieutenant governor on the Democrat side, and the incumbent House representative for Montana at large, Greg Giaforte, is the Republican nominee for that governor race there. So we got a lot of interesting races to watch this year. I mean, I'm actually kind of excited for this year, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like 2018 was like, oh my gosh, everything's really cool with the governor and Senate race, especially in Florida. But I think this is going to be, all these states are going to be really interesting to watch to see what happens.
Yeah. All right, let's also talk about Iowa now, where the Republican incumbent Joni Ernst has lost popularity due to her strong support for Trump and trade tariffs that are unpopular with the Iowa